Give me a minute here. Okay, today I'm going to focus on Empire's sustainability journey and how we have implemented UV LED technology within the screen printing manufacturing process. I'm going to go over some of our history and why we embarked on this journey. So, as Brandon mentioned, I'm the sustainability coordinator, and so our focus is about telling the story about how we've embarked on this journey with UV LED technology and how it's paralleling with sustainability. So we want to define what sustainability means, and in very simple terms off the EPA's website is that everything we need for our survival and well-being depends directly or indirectly on our natural environment. So what does that mean from a business aspect? Business is often defined as managing our triple bottom line, which is our people, planet, and profit. To be sustainable in business, I believe we must take on this social responsibility to maintain this balance to preserve our natural resources and quality of life for future generations. I believe our story at Empire will coincide with the triple bottom line, and as you'll see throughout the presentation today. Every business can relate to dollar values, and oftentimes in business we focus mainly on the bottom line or the profit. And these two dollar values on your screen I'm going to show you later, is this relating to profit or is it relating to cost? What does it cost to be sustainable? At Empire, we believe that our surrounding is a direct influence on how we run our business, how we manage our people, or how we relate to our people, environment, and our neighbors, and we want to do this in a socially responsible manner. We are located in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I'm not sure if many of you are familiar where that's located, but we're right up against the Mississippi River Valley, and we're in the driftless area, so it's very rolling hills, bluffs, rivers, very beautiful country, and we want to make sure what we're doing has good effects on our environment and the people around us. At Empire, we specialize in screen, flexographic, digital printing, and doming applications. We produce overlays, decals, aluminum nameplates, POP signage, roll labels, and much more on a wide variety of substrates. We instill our company's mission and vision into our daily operations. Our vision is to focus on the customer's needs by listening to both our internal and external customers. Through education and training, we empower our employees to make improvements to the products, services, processes, and themselves. We are committed to production methods that implement sustainable environment, health, and safety practice into all aspects of our operation. Our people are a foundation to our operation. This is our way, and this is our why, and how we are able to accomplish what we've been able to accomplish over the years. When we hire the right people and give them the opportunities to improve, they empower themselves to make decisions over the quality, and we learn, we grow, and we excel. Empire was founded by Jim Brush in 1960. He started his business in a garage on French Island in La Crosse, Wisconsin. At the time, Jim was living out of his car, and he put everything he had into starting the business. His determination and self-reliance gave him the perseverance to succeed, and he carries that with him and passes that determination on to the employees. In 1967, he moved to our current location. Today, we have expanded our operation to include 150,000 square feet of manufacturing space, and we employ nearly 275 people. In the early years, we printed by hand using solvent inks. Our first customer was La Crosse's Pleasing All-Purpose Seasoning, and by the 70s, we expanded into the appliance industry and toy markets. In the late 70s, we did our first testing using UV inks, and this happened to be a complete failure for us. So we went back to solvent. Solvent inks continue to be the industry standard for screen printing. Why change? Why do we want to break that mold? Our driving force to make the change was to improve the working environment for our employees. The big appeal for solvent is it sticks to everything and it has a long-lasting, durable product. It's certified by many end users in a multitude of industries. Solvent inks are extremely hazardous. Roughly 50% of the solvent evaporates into the air, which means we need extensive ventilation systems in order to capture that hazardous airborne chemicals so that they can be removed from the working environment. All of these, as you can imagine, it's very energy intensive. It's a slow manufacturing process. Either we have to air dry or use heat ovens in order to let the inks cure. Harsh chemicals are needed for wash-up, and we have to get permission from the state in order to pollute this into the air. By the 80s and 90s, we got back into UV LED or UV inks. We weren't from the beginning where we failed. You know, it took another 10 years to get back into that that trial period of using UV inks, and in the 80s we started it again, and this time we were actually successful. We also started using, we created a ink and solvent reclaiming system where we would wash out our solvent rags so that the rags were clean when we threw them into the, threw them away, as well as we were able to use that wash up for continuing in our manufacturing process. And by the end of the 90s, we had converted about 5% of our manufacturing to use UV inks. Why make that switch? First of all, our goal was to have a better working environment for our employees, and UV inks did that. It has no VOCs, no harmful vapors. The inks cured faster. It allowed a faster speed in production, and it also improved our print quality with the ability to print finer details. The advantages of UV inks allowed us to improve the quality of the product and our working environment. And with this ink, we were using mercury vapor bulbs. Because the mercury is a hazardous material, we need special procedures for handling and disposing of the bulbs. And mercury bulbs produce ozone, which requires extensive ventilation systems. So we still have the ventilation systems even with the UV inks that are energy intensive. With the mercury curing, we were able to improve our process and our flow for production. It sped it up over the solvent. And the lights had more, using UV Mercury, it has more downtime and maintenance because the bulbs only last about 1,000 hours. So, and over time, those bulbs will deteriorate with inconsistent curing during that time. So there's a little bit more work involved with UV Mercury to maintain and operate that system. In 2000, even though some high cost to the ventilation system, the advantages outweighed solvent ink. So in 2000, we converted almost 95% UV to 5% solvent. We also continued to expand our capabilities during this time with digital printing and digital cutting. We built our own 3-color 12x14 UV Mercury screen press, and we purchased another 6-color large format carousel screen press. And in 2007, we installed our first direct-to-screen unit, leading the way towards film-free and chemical-free pre-press department. Then in 2008, this was a pivotal year for us as many businesses went through the same thing. The recession hits, and we lost about 27% of our business in 1 year. We needed to make a change. We started implementing lean manufacturing principles. We looked at reducing waste, balancing our resources, minimizing cost, implementing one-piece flow, anything that was value added. And what we were looking for was what was the customer willing to pay for, and how can we meet the tight deadlines that were required of us at that time. During this time, Jim had come across an article for LED technology being used in digital printing, and he kind of just raised the question, can this be done in screen printing? And that was really the spark that led us in the most recent years to our journey today. So in 2008, we set a team of people together to look at how is this possible for screen printing. And we looked at our ink supply companies, and we found a lighting company, and we began beta testing in 2008. And in 2009, we had a single color line that successfully manufactured using UV LED technology. We were the first company to accomplish this for screen printing. So together with our innovative partners, Cayman, Phozion, Flexcon, and NASDAR, we introduced the first of its kind roll-to-roll UV LED screen printing press in 2011. We introduced this to the industry and we shared this technology from that point on because we felt that the benefits for UV LED outweighed keeping it proprietary for us only. We felt that from an industry standard, this was good to expand the printing industry and how we can improve the quality of print, not just for the profit, but for employees and the environment. So what are the benefits of UV LED? It allowed us to be able to manufacture from one piece flow, which is a lean principle. It doesn't produce heat in the process, so the material didn't distort. We were able to use thinner materials to print on. It doesn't produce ozone emissions, so we were able to eliminate some of the large ventilation systems that we had, so we don't have to have makeup air as well. It has a smaller footprint, and the lights last 10 to 14 years. In our process, the lights are instantly on, instantly off, so they're only being used when they're needed. So there's a much lower energy cost to running LED technology. We had less downtime because you don't have to switch out those lights, and it's environmentally friendly. The only downside, if you want to call it that, is that the inks cost more the UV inks cost more in the UV LED environment. Comparing the cure rate between UV Mercury and UV LED, you can see that the LED is curing it with 95% light, where the Mercury is curing with 95% heat. And so we've virtually eliminated that heat in the process, which allowed us to do the one-piece flow. We can produce from raw material to finished goods all in line, which really improved our process. So making the switch, as I said earlier, we created our own 12 by 14 presses internally in-house here. And so when we were looking to build another one, we compared the UV Mercury to the LED technology, and as you can see here, we got our power. The cost to produce both presses is equal. We have the cost of the bulbs, the cost of the power consumption, and the cost of the exhaust in the UV Mercury, compared to the power consumption and no exhaust system on the LED. And as you remember at the beginning of the presentation, the dollar values, and here you can see that UV Mercury costs about $47,138 compared to a little over $1,000 to run UV LED ink curing technology, and that's just in 1 year. So you can see over a 5-year period, we're actually saving $230,000 of operating costs, which is drastic in the printing industry. So being sustainable can be affordable, but it's also important to note that LED lights are based on linear inches. So when you get to your larger footprints, the cost of those bulbs are drastically increase in price as you go up, and so the cost of a larger format is going to be different. The ROI is going to be different on that versus a smaller footprint like we have here. Over the last few years, we're starting to track our energy usage, and even though we've increased with 2 new UV LED presses, we are seeing a reduction in our energy costs. This isn't We're just adding presses at this time. We haven't converted any, so we're still seeing that our energy costs, as it relates to sales, is starting to trend down. So we're embracing this technology and its environmental performance. And as Brandon said earlier, I became the sustainability coordinator in 2012, and we created a green team and established that sustainability policy. What we wanted to do is be able to really give affirmation and recognition for the technology that we were producing. We wanted to be recognized within the state and as well as the nation as a leader in this technology. And by being certified, it gives you that ability to be able to share your story. So in 2013, we were certified by the state of Wisconsin Green Tier program, and with that, we had to establish an environmental management system, which was audited by an external auditor last year and was approved. In 2015 to 2017, we became members of a local, it's through our Western Technical College Sustainability Institute called Empower. It's a Champions program for businesses that are striving for sustainability. We also became Wisconsin Green Tier professionals, and last year we hosted at our facility the Wisconsin Sustainable Business Conference. We've been recognized from our state, national, and locally for our achievements through the SJIA. Last year we were the Wisconsin Family Business of the Year, and we were recognized by the Sustainable Business Council Process of the Year, as well as from Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce Business Friend of the Environment. And for 3 years we've been nominated for the Wisconsin Manufacturer of the Year award. Those awards are there as achievements and helps really, all these have come from our employees, and like I said earlier, with our philosophy, we're sharing our story, and we're finding traction and being recognized for that. Our future projects, we continue to go down the path of sustainability. We are trying to reduce our landfill waste. We are cutting back on our materials, so another lean principle, only use what is necessary or needed to do the job. So we're cutting back on materials that we would have normally ran and then thrown away if it wasn't part of the order. We're in the process of converting a 6-color UV Mercury press to a 12-color UV LED press, and we're converting lights. Our fluorescent bulbs, T12 bulbs, are getting converted to the LED T8. So these are all sustainable moves that we feel are important to for the long term of our business. As I mentioned earlier, Empower, we've been part of, this will be our 3rd year. Empower is a program for businesses in our community, and we meet once a month and we talk about sustainable issues, the triple bottom line, what are we doing internally that will help or share stories with other businesses, like-minded businesses. This is our 3rd year. Each year you have to have 3 projects that highlight one or all of the triple bottom line. So it's really we're learning and growing from our community members. And just to share one story with you, and I think we've all kind of seen this, is that one of the cohorts pulled up to work. He was driving there and it was raining, and the sprinkler system was going off in the parking lot, and he thought, well, that's strange, it's raining, why is the sprinkler system? And I think all of us have seen that to some point, but being a part of a community of people that talk about what's waste and what should be improved upon, he was able to, as part of their team, they put that as one of their projects to put sensors on their sprinkler systems. And now it only goes off when it's necessary. When there isn't moisture in there, it doesn't go off. So being a part of a local sustainable culture or community has been important for us. It shares our stories, and it gets you, new people that you can hire that are you're within the community. So if anybody out there is looking for a company to be a part of a company that's sustainable or looking to become sustainable, check your local area to see if there's anything in your area that would help benefit that or get you towards that certification. I highly recommend it. Builds awareness and understanding as you journey on your sustainability path, as Empire did. And so with the advancements and innovations in UV LED ink curing technology, we at Empire created a manufacturing process that is both economically sound and environmentally friendly. And today, 50% of our screen print manufacturing uses UV LED ink curing technology. And we're very proud to share that with you, and I like to thank you for inviting us. And if anybody has any questions, I can turn that back over to Brandon, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, for presenting today. So I want to, before we get started on the Q&A, I just want to say a quick thank you again to SGIA for being a sponsor for this webinar. And at this point in time, I'd like to invite you, if you have any questions for Jennifer, you can type them into the chat window below there, and then Jennifer will work on answering them as we come in. But thank you again, Jennifer, and thank you everybody for tuning in today. Jennifer, it looks like people are starting to type stuff, but I'll throw out a question for you. Have you guys seen a noticeable benefit to sort of, green cells now? So, in addition to just, benefiting the employees and the bottom line of the company, have you seen that as a good marketing tool as well for certain cases?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you can market your company, I think sustainability has been a hot topic, so I believe that our customers are recognizing it. We have many of our customers will, you have to fill out a flyer or, are you ISO certified or whatever it may be, and many of them now have an environmental portion of that. And businesses, I think, people want to do business with companies that recognize the value of sustainability and recognize their impact that they have on the environment and what they're doing to improve that.
Cool. You want to start tackling some of the questions, just kind of work from the top down there?
Sure. Does Empire manufacture UV LED resins as well? Resins, I'm not sure if I can answer that one correctly. Most of the inks that we use right now can either be ran on UV Mercury presses or UV LED. Resins are probably, at this point, I'm going to say that we probably don't cure resins with the LED technology, but that's something I could always research a little bit more and get back to you on. The next question is, what types of substrates are you screen printing? We have vinyl, polycarbonate, polyesters. Those are our three main big ones. Paper, you name it. Variations of polyesters. Quite a range of substrate. We can almost print on anything. Aluminum. So hopefully that answers some of your questions. David has a question here. Do you find the performance of the UV LED curing inks the same as the ones cured with medium pressure mercury lamps? The performance, if it wasn't performing in the same caliber as the mercury, we wouldn't probably convert. The LED performs just as good, if not better, as the mercury because it has more of a consistent curing rate, so there's no inconsistency. So when the bulb on the mercury starts wearing down, if the operator doesn't recognize that the inks aren't curing properly, we could have waste or rejections in the order that is being produced. So the curing is definitely improved over the lifetime of the bulb, as opposed to where we run into the maintenance and upkeep of the mercury. Joanna has a question. What is the big curing technology for screen printing? Solvent, I believe, is still the solvent inks, and curing with solvent inks is probably the standard for screen printing. LED inks, I believe, since we've shared our technology, I believe there's up to 5 companies that have either implemented it or are looking to implement it into their business. Tom, what mesh counts are you using with UV LED curing inks? We use a 380, 32, 380, 34, 305. Any of our meshes, I think any of our mesh will use. There's certain inks that we cannot use the UV LED. We still use like 1%. About 1% of our inks are still solvent, and the rest of them are either UV Mercury or UV LED. Those inks, let's see here. So most of our mesh that we use is using a 380, 32, or 34. The majority of the business that we do use that. Peter has a question. Are there UV LED equipment that has a lower wavelength output? That I'm not sure of, Peter. I can always jot that question down and get back to you on that question. Another question here. Please elaborate on the cost savings of $47,000 versus $1,000. Was that energy savings calculated, including only on lamps and or including others, exhaust? That cost savings is the exhaust system. So what it costs to run and the energy used to run a Mercury versus the UV LED. There is no exhaust system. For Mercury, the bulbs are always on. So when you start it up, we're a 24/5 operation. So when our third shift comes in on Sunday evening, they turn those presses on, and they don't get shut down until Friday evening. So you can, with the exhaust and the lights being on, that's where that energy savings, that's where we saw the energy savings on that press, because we don't have it on the other. Hopefully that answers the question. A very impressive, progressive company, Brian says. I love the triple bottom line concept. Question, is the course of your historical development, did you use electroless lamp technology? This technology has much lower IR output than electro-based lamps and is more or less instant on-off. I do not believe that we use the electroless lamp technology. In my experience, we've only used the Mercury and the LED technology. Ravi, if I slaughter people's names, I apologize. How do you quantify the efficiency of the UV LED system? Is it time or print quality? Please expand. The efficiencies is that the LED, really it's because it's instantly on, instantly off. So as it's going through the carousel press, it hits it with the beam of light, it shuts off. That's the only energy that's being used by the lights at that given time. So the time and the print quality are captured in that moment in time, and whereas, like I mentioned earlier, the UV Mercury is on all the time, and the energy use for that Mercury is much more intensive. Tom has a question. What watt ranges are your UV LED systems? At the time, the slide, let's see here. At this time, when we were doing our presentation, we were using, when we initially started, we were using an 8 watt. They do have a 16 watt out there. We are putting a 16 watt on our 12 color press. I do not have the numbers for the 16 watts as far as energy use and the characterization of the lights. Mike has a question. What UV ink formulation what UV ink formulation changes were required in going from mercury bulbs to UV LED lights? That would be a question for the ink companies. I believe they had to put in more photoinitiators into the ink to make it where the light band width was being utilized by the UVA rays, as opposed to, we can use LED technology with the mercury because they're using the same band, but we can't use UV mercury on the LED because it won't cure. So there was some formula changes within the ink companies that had to make it cure with that different light, or different ray of light that was coming through with the LED technology. Let's see here. Tom. Peter says that would be great if you had more information. Thank you, and I will try to get more information. And I can either, Brandon, is that a way? Can I get back to you for information, or if people have email addresses and they want to give it to Brandon, I can get back to them personally as well.
Yeah, if people want to shoot me an email, I can forward them on to Jennifer, or if you want to have, or Jennifer, if you want to, I don't know if you want to give your email address, but if you can send emails my way, I can forward them on to Jennifer.
Or there's mine as well. So if you do have questions that you want to have more information, you can certainly get a hold of me as well. Going back.
That's probably the better route.
Yeah, then we won't take up your time. Let's see here. Celia, could Empire develop LED formulas for all colors with the same cure speed as mercury lamps? We work with our ink suppliers, so the ink suppliers are the ones that are actually creating the inks, and when we get them in, they're either formulated for LED or they're formulated for mercury. We have our own in-house ink company where we can take the formulas and then build specific colors for that. So if there's a specific spot color, we have the formulas to be able to do that, but you know, we've worked with our ink suppliers to be able to accomplish that. At the same cure speed, the presses are basically at the same speed when they go through. So we run carousel presses, and I believe they all are at the same speed. So I hope that answers your question. Vince has a question: Do all inks you make cure at the same wavelength? I do not believe, if I'm reading the cure rate up on the top there, I don't believe that they're at the same wavelength. The mercury is either UVA or UVB, or if I'm reading that correctly, and then the UVA is for the LED. There's another question. Are you saying UV LED lamps don't need exhaust, even when they are on all the time, or not? And no cost savings when switching from mercury to UV LED lamps. Yeah, right. The UV LED, they do not need any exhaust system to run them. They actually can be plugged into a normal outlet, 120 watt outlet if you wanted, or up to, you could probably have a higher wattage than that. But yeah, they don't produce any of the harmful vapors or ozone or anything like that that the mercury bulbs that comes off with the mercury bulbs. So there is no, you don't have to have the ventilations to exhaust the harmful chemicals or the harmful vapors that would come through with the others. No cost savings when switching from mercury to UV LED lamps. At the size that I have in my presentation, the 12 by 14, the cost between the bulbs and the cost of the lamps are pretty much equal. Once you get into the larger format, the LED bulbs are going to be more expensive because they're costed by linear inches. So as you get bigger, the cost will be different. Let's see, energy-wise. I think I answered those questions. Brian has did line speed decrease with change over to LED from medium pressure HG system? I'm not sure if I'm going to answer this correctly, if I'm understanding right. Did line speed decrease with change over to LED? No, the speed of production actually is improved with LED technology because we can manufacture in flow. So we do our screening operations, we can instantly apply adhesives or lamination, so we're able to manufacture in what we call as one-piece flow, so we can take the raw materials to finished goods. So the speed of the production is actually increased with LED over the mercury, and I hope I answered that question correctly. Christoph, what methods do you use to test curing after UV LED irradiance? So I'm thinking the question is if we do like a crosshatch test or making sure that the adhesion is on there. Is that correct? We do the same sort of methods whether or not we're using mercury or LED to make sure that the press is working to its optimal, working to its best, you know. So we want to make sure that every job is checked to make sure it's curing correctly. Hugh has, do you have different UV LED ink formulations for different substrates? Yes, there are different, each substrate will have a different chemistry, so there are different makeups for different substrates. And that was the end of the questions. I think somebody else is coming in with one. What is the life of the UV LED lamps versus the mercury lamps? The UV LED lamps are rated for 10 to 14 years. I believe that's based on if they were on and continuously on. And the mercury lamps are rated for about 1,000 hours. So there's quite a difference between LED versus mercury. And Peter says, Brandon, could you share the link again for where the webinar is saved? And Tom, do you only use NASDAR inks? No, we use some chemicals, NASDARs, there's others, and I'm drawing a blank on them, but when we initially started the process of the beta testing the LED technology, NASDAR was the company that helped us achieve the success at the beginning, but other companies have since started creating their own LED inks as well. Is that all the questions? It looks like that Tom might be typing a question here, but Tom is asking what is the cost of a UV LED system. If you had to go out and buy one, I'm not exactly sure. The LED presses that we've made here, we've made them internally. If I go back to the one slide, let's see here. Of course, it's hard to view on there, but we're roughly about $230,000 on the 12 by 14. The larger units, our conversion press that we're working on, that's going to be closer to probably a $600,000. I think $500,000 to $600,000 for the lights alone for the 12-color unit. So we had a 6-color press that we're converting to that. So we didn't have to purchase a press, but the lights are what costs a lot for the larger units. Ravi, did you look at other systems besides Phozion? They might have looked at other systems. Phozion was the one that we worked with initially. I know there's, now I believe there's other companies out there. Fujifilm, I believe, makes a LED light, and I'm not sure of the other companies that are out there, but I know Phozion was a leader in producing the LED technology, and then others have since come up from back in 2008.
Yeah. I think following up on somebody else's question earlier, I'm not sure who's doing it, but we've had some presentations that there are people that are working on UVC LED lights, but I don't know, not my area of expertise. I don't know what, they can make the LED chips, I think, at this point. I don't know if anybody's got commercial solutions at this point, but there are people who are working on different wavelengths on UV LEDs.
Christoph has a question. Do you use radical or also canatonic curing? I don't think so, but I guess I'm not an expert in the radical or the canatonic curing, so I'm not sure how to answer that question. I do not believe we do, because I've never honestly heard about either one of those, so hopefully that answers your question.
Basically the underlying chemistry that the photoinitiator, it's kind of how the system works.
Okay. Yeah, the chemistry behind it is not my expertise.
I think we're just a little past our 2:45 time. You guys have Jennifer's email address. If you have some further questions for her, you might want to follow up with her via email. I want to thank Jennifer again for sharing her knowledge with us. I'd like to, of course, always the folks at Radtech, and for this particular webinar, we want to thank SGIA for sponsoring this, and thank you to all of those who tuned in today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and I'm more than willing to help answer some of the questions if people didn't write in. So thank you, and I hope all of you have a nice afternoon.
Thanks, everybody, and take care.